let's see if he's going to be honest. Let's see if he's going to be honest.
Yeah. We'll see.
Regime change versus regime collapse. What's the difference? So regime change is you depose existing government of another country and replace it with new leadership. So, for instance, back in the days, Mossadegh was the leader in Iran. He decided to nationalize all the oil. It affected all the oil to other countries around the world. BP was in there. They came in and said, no, we're not going to be doing this. Let's bring the Shah of Iran. Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi shows up in 1953.
Very important that you guys understand this. So Mossadegh, right? Nationalized the oil. That basically means that the government took control of it so that private institutions wouldn't profit off of the nation's, resource. And a lot of the times when you nationalize the oil, you make yourself a target for, stronger, more military powerfully countries. So this obviously put Mossadegh in the hit list of the British.
Yep.
And then obviously we're allies with the British and Israel, being a new country in the region. They needed allies in the region because nobody wanted them there. So Israel also had a vested interest as well. So why did we get involved? So Mossadegh, right, nationalized the oil. Brits said, hell no, we want access to that oil. So they overthrew them. We're allies with the Brits. We have access to the oil as well. We're involved. And then the Israelis had a vested interest because the Israelis needed an ally in the area. Iran was the first Muslim majority country to recognize Israel as a country, guys, after the Shah took over when Mossadegh was overthrown during Operation Ajax. So it's very important for you guys to understand that this distrust and dislike of the United States has been going on for a very long time because we've been involved in intervening in their political structure since the 1950s.
Yeah, 1953.
That's regime change. Iran, for the most part, in the Middle East becomes peaceful for the next 26 years. But
Debatable. There were a bunch of conflicts going on at the time in the Middle East. Obviously, we have the Yom Kippur War, the 6-Day War. You have
all the Arab-Israeli conflicts. You have Israel-Palestine. You have all of this tension that the West is trying so hard to remedy, as well as the fact that there were pockets of power in Iran at the time during the Shah regime that were trying to overthrow him too. So there was some discontent from the public of Iran with the Shah regime and the prior one, and so those started to culminate during Ajax and following the Islamic Revolution in '79. But I'm sure he's going to explain that.
And it's not, people talk about how the Shah was, they talk about the Islamic regime being super evil and killing people, which is true. But make no mistake about it, the Shah also had a brutal internal police force. What's the name? Okay, there we go. Savak. There we go. Yeah. These guys would go out and literally just kill dissenters. This was their job, the Savak. These guys were brutal, dude. Nobody has clean hands in this situation. But
collapse is what happened with rapid breakdown of a government where leaders lose the ability to control the state, leads to power structures falling apart. In 1979 in Iran, that was a regime collapse. Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, monarchy, he's running the country, boom, replace him with Khomeini, Islamic Revolutionary Guard. That's a complete collapse. So the first one is a change, the other one is a collapse. Now let's continue. Regime change. Iraq, 2003, regime change. Planning, strategic. Who drives it? Foreign governments, coups. Cause, deliberate removal. That's what they did. Hey, let's get this guy out of here. That's a regime change.
Well, but why?
Yeah.
Israel needed Saddam Hussein out of there.
Strategically stepping over the key pieces of context that lead you to the conclusion.
Super important. Important. Why did that regime change happen, bro? Like, it happened because the Israelis needed Saddam out. Netanyahu flew all the way to the United States, testified under oath. I'll never forget infamous words. If you take out Saddam, you're going to have positive reverberations all across the region. So
collapse. Soviet Union. What happened back in the day? Say, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, or communism. It was so chaotic. Everybody was worried about communism.
It's fine. He's defining terms right now, so he's probably not going to go into the details. But I think for the audience, for your guys' purposes, it's important to understand why the Iraq war happened.
Being accepted by said though, but let's see.
Everybody,
we'll see. We'll give it a chance.
No, we cannot have this communism thing be a massive thing that people accept. We got to get rid of this. They did. Iran Revolution, we talked about. The planning, super chaotic. So if we're going through the collapse, super chaotic, citizens, economy, military defection hasn't happened to Iran fully yet. The citizens, yes, but military turning against the government saying, listen, I can't support you anymore. And then obviously the internal breakdown. That's Iran, by the way, Venezuela. What just happened with Venezuela, Maduro, it's somewhat-ish a regime change, even though his VP is still there. It is an ish regime change. But let's continue. When you look at this, regime change methods. Number one is direct military action. Number two, covert operations, secretly funding, like not necessarily a proxy, but secretly funding, training, or inciting opposition in country. And
it's important that you guys understand this is the main methodology that's utilized nowadays, especially after World War II. Okay? The world learned that big world wars is just not beneficial and the casualties are way too high. Yep. So covert operations are the best way to go because it creates what's called plausible deniability. And plausible deniability is the name of the game when it comes to modern warfare. You utilize intelligence agencies where you have that level of cover, and then you also utilize proxies. We do it. Iran was doing it. Multiple countries do it all the time, especially big powers that have nuclear capabilities. They don't want to get into a situation where they're fighting another world power that has nuclear weapons. So what ends up happening is they use proxies to effectuate what they want.
A good example of that is the Bay of Pigs invasion, where the United States actually hired 1,500 Cuban exiles trained by the CIA to launch some sort of coup d'etat or revolution in Cuba. It failed miserably. They were caught. Yeah, they were caught. But JFK came out and denied any sort of affiliation with it or kind of brushed it off to the side and put it under the rug. So this is an effective way of
he didn't give them the air support. He didn't give them the air support, and that made them really pissed off. That actually that was a component of him getting killed, was because he didn't give them the air support that they wanted, because he needed that plausible deniability. If he gave them the air support, it would be obvious there was American intervention.
Exactly. So that's kind of the whole covert operation example. Go ahead. Sorry.
Diplomacy, sanctions, and
ones, like kind of in modern history, correct, from the 60s.
Sure. Yeah. That's documented and declassified now.
Yeah.
That's openly available.
Goes rarely works, but we use that card every once in a while. Why does U.S. do regime change? One, containment, domino theory. Example, Cold War, enemy communism. Communism, if it would have spread, and that ideology that was spreading would have won, it would have been bad for everybody. It was, well, you know, we need to kind of go through the system. They had to put a stop to it. I believe that was a right move. Number two, protecting economic interests, ex-Panama, 1989. Number three, preemptive strikes, Bush doctrine. Preventing terrorism, example, the Great War.
All right. Yeah, this is where the answer is.
You know,
wrong,
you don't understand. They have weapons of mass destruction.
It's fine. He's describing what they, you know what I mean, what they used as the excuse. You know what I mean? That's fine. Right now he's defining it. I'm going to be charitable here. He's defining it, right? Of what it is. At least what we know what the war on terror really was, right? It was about removing Israel's enemies, but it's fine. Let's keep going.
We had weapons of mass destruction. That is something that a lot of military guys that want to fight over that lost their buddies, like, wait a minute, you will never get me on this ever again, which makes sense. And then number four, liberal interventionism, stop human rights violation. It's not fair what you're doing to people, and that's a whole different approach. Now,
and here's the other thing, liberal interventionism, that is a ruse that's typically used to justify some other strategic reason. For example, I'll give you, we have one right now. Trump said, if you go ahead and you execute those guys, we're going to invade, we're going to attack you, right? You think Trump gives about Iranians getting hung? No, he never did. If he did talk about Iranians, he wouldn't put these crippling sanctions. But they will use the ruse of humanitarian intervention to justify a strategic intervention.
Number one, course of actions using CIA for
this is geopolitics 101, guys.
Psychological warfare, which, by the way, it's happening right now in a big way. Funding opposition groups, you know, orchestrating.
We've done this all the time, funding opposition groups. This is we're the kings of funding opposition groups. We did it with the Mujahideen and Osama bin Laden against the Soviets. We did it in the Iran-Contra. We did it against, with funding what was going on in South America. We are the kings of funding. Yeah, we did it in Syria. We did it with Ahmed al Jolani literally just now. Yep. Trump let it slip and said, I put Ahmed al Jolani in power. Like, come on, bro.
He's a strong guy. He's young. He's handsome. I like him. He's got a rough past, but I think Syria's got a good future. I think they got a good guy now. So.
Military,
like you didn't fund him. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, he literally said I basically put him in.
Yeah,
he said it.
Yeah, Trump slips up a lot. Iran, that's like he's getting old.
Go
ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I could imagine. The CIA got to be fucking punching the air in the back though.
When Trump is giving his briefings on the Air Force One, I can't remember everything, of course, now that I'm talking about it on the spot. There are so many instances where Trump says something and you go, "Did he just say that?" It's like, wait, he was not supposed to say that. Like Trump, his cognitive decline is very apparent these days. Like he's losing it. Like he says, I know he's having talks about like, hey, Mr. President, you can't say that. Like, let's see, can you find that statement on al-Shara?
Essentially put there. So I don't want to spend a lot of time, but all I can say is that the president who I essentially put there. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time, but all I can say is that the president of Syria, who I essentially put there.
Like, come on, bro. And guys, the reason why that's big is you might think, okay, what's the big deal? He put a president into place. Like the United States does that all the time. Ahmed al Jolani, formerly known as Ahmed al Jolani, was a terrorist wanted by several international communities, as well as I think the CIA had a bounty on his head, or the FBI had a bounty on his head of millions of dollars. This guy worked with Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, which is the Al-Qaeda front in northern Syria. This guy worked for, or his group then graduated to become Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. He graduated to several different names to try and covertly walk away from the idea of him being like this mujahid, jihadist kind of terrorist. And he fought in the Iraq war against Americans. Now, whether you want to say he was a terrorist or not, it's I suppose if somebody's Muslim, they'll say, yeah, but
guarantee he killed them.
There is no doubt this guy was like an adversary, quote unquote, for the United States. And the fact that Donald Trump said, well, you know, we put him in power, says a lot about what we do in Syria. That kind of vindicates everybody who speculated that we funded ISIS and we funded all these other militant groups. What do you mean we put Ahmed al Jolani in power? That vindicates everybody who says Obama and Clinton's were actually giving ISIS money in 2015 in Libya and in Syria. So
Chile 73 with Pinochet. That's that. Number two, conventional warfare, direct invasion, boots on the ground, Panama, Iraq. We're trying to avoid that with Iran, although we've had multiple leaders on Trump's administration that have said we have to keep all the options out there. We may need to use it. We don't know yet, right? But he doesn't want to use it. You've heard that. Okay, number three, proxy warfare. Army training local insurgent groups to destabilize the government in Nicaragua in the 1980s. And some of the people right now are saying, well, wait a minute, the Kurds, what they're doing, isn't that kind of what you're doing? Are we giving them weapons? And they said, listen, we're not giving them weapons. Israel may, but we're not giving them weapons. So some of that. And then number four is economic coercion, right? Sanctions, trade embargoes intended to incite domestic unrest, which we have done to Iran for a long time. But this alone doesn't fully work all the time for regime change. So question becomes, has it ever worked? How often does it fail? Because you'll hear people saying it never works at all.
Just as a quick note, sanctions are becoming less and less effective as time progresses, with the United States weaponizing them against several countries. We see that with Russia and others. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Whether there was a success short term, we were able to get rid of this regime. So that's a success. Whether it lasts long term, 10, 20, 30 years, that's a different definition of success. It all depends on how we measure success. So, for example, examples of success. Number one, Operation Ajax. This was Mossadegh. He came in, all the major oil companies like, wait a minute, this guy wants to nationalize. He doesn't want to do business. We can't have a guy like this. Let's bring Reza Pahlavi. And he comes in, he stays for 26 years, and the rest is history. And during that time, when that was going on, of course, CIA was involved, MI6 was involved. A lot of people were involved. Guatemala, 1954.
Yeah, with putting him in power. The MI6 and everybody else. Keep in mind, guys, Western powers put him in power, and then the people got him out of power. That should tell you something.
Operation PB success, Chile 1970.
Because when the Shah came in, he privatized the oil industry and gave full access to the West, okay? And when you privatize the industry, the government doesn't really have control of their own resources. So what ended up happening is they said, F this nigga, and they threw him out. So the West put him in power, and then the people rebelled and took him out of power. That's very revealing.
73, Grenada 1983, Operation Urgent Fury, not Epic Fury. And then 5,
Epstein Fury.
Panama 1989, Operation Just Cause that they went through. These are successes at the time. Failures, Cuba, 61, Bay of Pigs. What happened? Cuba's still a communistic, which, by the way, if this goes through, you know what's going to happen with Cuba? Let's just say they succeed with Iran and they did with Venezuela. They're just going to go saying, hey, Cuba? Yeah. All right. Come on, guys. Yeah. So you kind of move out the way. Right. You're going to be like Puerto Rico, and let's allow us to bring some hotels and kind of.
I literally said this before I came on with you. The regime change in Cuba is probably going to be one of the easier ones. So he's completely right in that.
And then we got Vietnam, 55 to 75. Another failure. Afghanistan, probably the biggest failure. And then you got Iraq. Some people would call Iraq the biggest failure, but Afghanistan's on that list as well.
Well, here it's very important. Why were they so big failures? Because what is the similarity between Iraq and Afghanistan? You got a Muslim majority country that is not just fighting you for political reasons, but they're also fighting you for religious reasons. You have invasions. Invasions are almost always more difficult, right? And then you got war of attritions. The Iraq war with Taliban, you know, we're talking about decades where we were just bleeding money and time. And soldiers, we said, we got to get the f out of here.
And in Libya, we know how that one ended as well. So now, and so by the way, when we're looking at the whole Iran regime change, regime collapse, there's one thing I want you to pay attention to. So 1953, Operation Ajax, you know who was president? A Republican president, Eisenhower. Interesting. All right. So they came in, they're like, no, we're not going communism, we're going to go pro-capitalism. And then you have the 1979 revolution with the great blowback. President Carter, Democrat, he said he was going to help, he did not. What happened? Regime collapse, okay? Without, like, we almost kind of said, no, we're going to help you. No, we have your back. Don't worry about it. It's going to be great.
Pay attention
Boom.
to this.
We did nothing.
Pay attention to this.
IRGC
Notice the
came
pattern
in.
there.
Show.
Notice the pattern
since
there.
1979 because of Carter.
We're not militarily involved. By the way, such a surprise that it's a Democrat, but that doesn't mean Democrats don't get involved in the Middle East. We have Obama. But when we're not military involved, Israel's in a bad space. When we're militarily involved, Israel gains a lot more power and hegemony. Obviously, in 53, what we did was in the favor of Israel. Obviously, we're effectuating a regime change that's going to be more aligned with them. And then in 79, we're hands off. Now an Islamic theocracy comes to power. That checks their power. Now we have checks and balances in the Middle East. Go ahead.
Which is a good thing because I don't trust the Israelis.
Exactly.
Which is, and I talked about this on Propaganda and Co. yesterday, and shout out to Wiring Games for clipping it. The reason why we don't want the Israelis to be the hegemon in the Middle East, guys, is because we can't trust them. Because they've already betrayed us when they need us. What do you think is going to happen when they don't need us? They were involved in the assassination of a U.S. president, the bombing of a U.S. spy ship, 9/11, stealing secrets from us with Jonathan Pollard, right? Stealing the nuclear weapon. Like, they've done so many things to us and betrayed us. They sell our secrets to the Chinese and to the Russians. So this is when they need us. What do you think is going to happen when they don't need us?
Operation Epic Fury, Republican Trump. So if you notice, one side is like, well, we'll kind of work with you. We'll kind of, we'll do this and we'll be, no, Khomeini was more like a Gandhi. He's going to come and make Iran. So you don't want somebody like a Pahlavi who is all about wealth and money and all this stuff. It's the language. That's the propaganda part that works. So now, while you're watching everybody today debate this topic, whether you know it or not, everyone falls in one of these handful of camps that's out there. Let me explain to you what this camp is. First camp.
Okay, interesting.
Is Israel first hawks. I don't care what happens. We have to have.
I wonder where Patrick puts himself in this category.
Israel's back no matter what. We've got to protect.
I want to see where he puts himself in this category, bro.
If they're doing this, we got to go.
Where do you fall?
That's the Israel hawk.
Who, me?
No. Where does Patrick fall?
Where does Patrick fall? Yeah,
he's gonna try and overcomplicate this. Like, there's several different positions and all these different ideologies. It's like, hey, bro, you either have the benefit of the United States in mind or you don't. But okay, we can complicate it. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah. I'm actually interested to see what he's gonna put that.
Number 2 is a Trump loyalist. Hey, I think this is the right guy. I voted for this guy. I support this guy. I think he's doing the right thing. I support his decision, and I'm excited about what's going to be happening. I'm a little bit uncertain. I'm a little worried, but I'm supporting him. Number 3 is the establishment media. The main Fox, CNN, MSNBC. They're kind of like, well, Khamenei's a bad guy. Well, he kind of had to go. But Mark Kelly, well, I'm glad he was taken out. But, they're supportive, but they're still kind of like, what happened to the congressional that need to go through Congress? A little bit of that. Then you have the America First. I can't believe you're doing this. This is crazy. Israel owns U.S. It's a puppet.
Yeah, that's pretty much us.
Bibi's running everything. I'm voting Democrat moving forward.
Okay, I know about that.
All right, that's a stab at. That's 100% a stab at Nick. 1 million.
Yeah.
At Nick.
I don't think I'm going to go vote Democrat, but we're definitely extremely Israel critical over here.
Yeah. I'm going to, and that's the America First. Some of the people there that are supporting that, and then you're going to have a radical left, the lunatics. You know how they are.
And the reason why I just can't vote Democrats because, like, bro, like I hate the the female first agenda, right? And the wokeness and the minority first agenda. Like that shit pisses me off so much.
Complete. There's nothing he can do right. That's the radical left. And on the Iran side, you have one side that's supporting this. It's the majority. 80+% of Iranians are sick and tired of having a country being ran by a supreme leader.
Bruh.
Did he just say 80+%?
He said 80%. Now, here's the thing. And this is a very, let me hear out everything he says before I answer this.
They're done with that judgment. Leave me alone. Let me live my life. It's a different world we're living in today with social media where you can no longer hide. And no matter how many times you're trying to cancel the internet so we can't see what's going on with the world, we're sick of the way You've brainwashed us and manipulated our parents for decades. It's done. Get out the way. Then the small percentage that says, I don't know. I don't know if I want, I don't know if I want to get to this one. I don't know about, and that's the part. Those are the camps. You pick and choose.
Let me be clear about this. Are a lot of people unhappy with the government of Iran? Yes, absolutely. A lot of them are. But they are not unhappy with the government to the point that they are willing to back the United States and Israel. And that's extremely important here.
Yeah.
Which is why you're not getting this uprising that the Trump administration was hoping for.
Very few people in Iran would agree to having an Israeli US-backed leader run their country. That is a greater evil than that of the current Ayatollah or IRGC regime.
Yes.
And by the way, the whole reason why that government struggles to please the people is because of the sanctions that we imposed on them for the benefit of the Israelis. So,
yes.
And that's something he's not going to mention. But again, key piece of context that all these guys who spin this propaganda always step over strategically.
Which one you're in and what you decide to be part of. But those are the 6 camps that we have right now. Now, let's cover this here. Okay.
Yeah, that 80% that he's talking about, they might be unhappy with the government, but not to the level that they're going to overthrow said government for the West.
And this one here got very big. And it is what could happen. 8 different scenarios of what could happen.
And you can make the argument, now that his son is in play, now they're going to approve the government more.
Potentially, yeah, because now they're charged up. Now they're all facing a common enemy. In attacking them and killing their leader, you did unite them. Like you said, if Trump got killed or if Biden got killed, regardless of your politics, that would cause some unity across the United States. Aside from the far radical leftists, a lot of people would go, hey, our leader just got killed by a foreign government. There's a bigger enemy
and the
here.
son is a hardliner. The son is far more of a hardliner than the dad is.
He seems to be more
son
extreme.
The son might repeal the fatwa with the nuclear weapons.
From worst case to best case. What's the worst case? Samson option. Total nuclear destruction. First person, drops
he said
it.
Worst
And then
case.
from
I'm
there,
sorry.
you know what? Let me
he
just
said worst case, right?
Yeah, I think worst case, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
If you're going to kill me, I'm killing everybody with me when I'm going down, right? That's what I'm doing. Number 2, dark successor. So yes, we took out Khamenei. Yes, we took out 50 plus leaders. Yes, we took out all these different sites. But the next guy that comes is even worse than the existing guy
Could be the
that
son.
they have. Maybe it's not a nuclear war, but they stay. But even a worse radical leader.
Did you say you want me to pause?
No. I said could be the son. He's talking about a darker successor being the second worst potentiality, and so that could be the son.
He recorded this before the son was put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably what he was probably alluding to the son.
Takes over Iran. Number 3 is the Syrification of Iran. Okay, this is fracture state. They're kind of trying to figure it out. And
this is
what are we going to do?
Pause here. This is Ryad's prediction. This is I'll stamp it here. This is my prediction. I think Iran will turn into a new Syria. Let's keep going.
That's what you think? Okay.
I think
it kind of stays chaotic for a while, and everyone's kind of trying.
So you think effectively they're going to lose this war?
I think the United States will work for influence in a region that rejects them vehemently.
To figure out, and we're still kind of funding, trying to help out, but it can't stand alone on its own. Number 4 is the stalemate, status quo. U.S. goes to war for 4 to 5 weeks. We eventually run out of ammo. We run out of all these interceptors, and we're like, you know what, guys? Let's just kind of finish it up. IRGC stays in power. Everything stays there, but stalemate. Nothing takes place.
That's
number 5. A military.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep going, but I just want to clarify this.
No, you're good.
That's arguably worse than the Syrian situation. Because he has the Syria parallel being ranked worse if it's this power vacuum with several different factions fighting for power being worse than that. No. If this reaches a stalemate, that's worse than that because the United States just lost. That's way worse. Symbolically.
Because we bleed out. We bleed out,
and we pull out, and the Iranian regime called our bluff. That's the worst case scenario. We can't pull out now. We'll look like pussies on the international stage.
Yeah, I mean,
and we'll charge up the IRGC. We'll charge up the Muslims.
I think that's a smart play.
No, it's 100%. I agree. It is the smart play. I'm just saying for Trump.
Trump's ego,
how it's going to look from an optic perspective politically. Oh, that's the biggest L the United States is probably going to take in recent history. We attacked Iran. We bombed these schools. We hit this oil depot. We engulfed the sky in flames. It was dark. It was hell on earth. And then we just said, hey, guys, we're leaving. You win. Because if they can effectively resist us, this is what we saw with the Taliban in Afghanistan. They said we won. They planted a U.S. Hummer, a military Hummer, on top of a flag post. Like, that's the symbolic victory they have with us pulling out of their country and not effectuating a complete regime change. If we do that in Iran, that will be the biggest moral and symbolic loss the United States will receive since that of Afghanistan, but worse because this actually didn't even take a year. So That would not be good. That's probably one of the worst options next to the Samson.
Military. Number 6 is the Persian Spring, citizen uprising, new government, kind of like what happened in 1979 with the revolution against the Shah. But the people come in, they're like, no, we're done with this. We got to do something about it. 7 is the Marshall Plan, similar to what we did with Europe. We decide to say, all right, the world, let's start investing into Iran. We're going to do this and we're going to fix this thing, economic recovery, heavy outside investments. And, just like
Well, that would need a regime change.
we did with Europe. And by the way, Europe, they ended up spending around 100.
They would only do this with a Western leader in place. They would only do that with someone in that's going to be like cucked to the West. Go ahead.
Do you notice as he's going from worst to best, simultaneously it's always going from most likely to least likely? Like the worst options are probably most likely aside from the nuclear war with Samson. And then the options that he considers are the best or, the kind of best ending here are the least likely. Like a regime change in the world, invest into the country. It's very unlikely. And if it is, that's bad for the United States because we already said why. Go ahead.
$30 billion in today's money to $150 billion. But also, you know how much money we spend in Africa with the Marshall Plan? We've had nearly 50 plus or so Marshall Plans in Africa. You know how much money we've spent in Africa on Marshall Plans since 1960-ish? What do you think the number is? 200 billion? 300 billion? Why don't you fact check this? It's somewhere around $5 trillion.
God damn.
We've invested to try to fix Africa. That hasn't worked. So it'll work.
They're retarded.
In Europe, it's a heavy investment.
We got to clarify, is that sub-Sahara or is that like what part of Africa?
It's got to be sub-Saharan, bro.
Yeah,
Come on, man. We know sub-Saharan. It's not us. It's them click, man. The spear chuckers.
Last but not least is the great bargain. Iran becomes cultural paradise. You go there, Frank Sinatra music playing in the back. If it happens, I'll be the first one celebrating. You know what else is pretty slim? Here's the other thing that's pretty slim. This guy here.
Well, I don't know if he's been keeping up with the news, bro, but they've mobilized nuclear assets already.
Yeah.
On the way they did it, it's fascinating to me. If this is actually what they did, it's brilliant. So you mean to tell me your number one enemy is China, and China signed a 25-year, $400 billion deal with Iran. Russia is not negotiating with you to help you get the peace done with Ukraine because you said on day one, I will finish the war with Ukraine and Russia, and it hasn't happened yet. And Russia got the plans on how to build the Shahed drones that Iran's building for only $20,000, and now they're building their own drones. So they're like, hey, we kind of need Iran to be good. And so you mean to tell me U.S. first goes?
Well, the Russians have reverse engineered the Shaheeds now. They make them domestically. They've mastered it now.
And gets Venezuela first.
Yeah, they no longer acquire
so
them.
China 50.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, they don't need. Yeah, they don't need the Iranians really. Yeah.
5% of oil they rely on comes from Venezuela, and the other 85%, whatever that they get from the Strait of Hormuz, comes from Iran. And you mean to tell me those two all of a sudden are under control of U.S.? So Venezuela's controlling here, and then you go and make the Supreme Court of Panama.
I knew. I'll let him finish. Go ahead.
Okay.
To get rid of C.K. Hutchinson, so China doesn't have any control in Panama Canal. If they retaliate, and then you go to Iran, and in the middle of this thing that's taking place, they're down missiles attacking by 86%, according to Wall Street Journal. You've taken out all these different places. Iran royally screwed up, attacked 10 other Gulf states, making enemies that are their neighbors.
They've always been enemies.
Yeah, I think that was a genius move to attack the Gulf states, actually.
It was. It put Donald Trump in a really tough position. He didn't expect it coming. And the Gulf countries have always...
warfare.
To become friends of Israel? What? Forcing these neighbors to all of a sudden say we're siding with Israel over Iran? Double dumb. But...
they're not siding with Israel. If anything, they're pissed off because they're realizing that Israel is what's being protected over them.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, that...
the minister of Saudi Arabia and a Saudi official had said that. They said, why are you prioritizing Israel's airspace over ours in Riyadh? So,
and also, he grossly underestimates how much these Gulf states all hate Israel, except for, like, the UAE. Like, the UAE is, like, kind of sold out or whatever, but, like, all these Gulf states, bro, like... They play nice with Israel because they understand that they have to play nice with Israel diplomatically. But, bro, none of these fucking countries like Israel. Nobody likes Israel in the region at all.
If the Abraham Accords were tarnished and Israel no longer had to be respected and the United States did not guarantee their security, Israel would probably not exist, or there'd be a full-on nuclear war because every single neighboring country would attack them.
That's a fact. And that's their biggest fear, by the way, a multi-front war.
If this is actually what happened, this may go down in the history books as one of the greatest case studies. Negotiation by raising the temperature so high on China and Russia and saying, hey, you better not get involved. I'm just telling you right now. I'll do a deal with you because now you need oil from us, or you need oil from Venezuela, or you need oil from Iran. That's going through us. You better make a deal with us and don't get involved. Hey, Russia, you too, don't get involved. Maybe we broker a deal. Now, again, that's if they're doing that, you got to give them credit, which I know the media won't. But if that's what they're doing, that's why we voted this person in, President Donald Trump, and I'm rooting for him to succeed. But the reality of it is, this is a lot nastier than anybody can tell you behind.
Yeah, this is really bad foreign policy analysis, man.
Yeah.
But, and it's kind of a nothing burger. He didn't say anything here. He just like gave an overview of like
again, it's like all wishful thinking, fairy tale, typical secular Iranian like analysis. Again, bro, just don't listen to anybody who has a vested interest in Iran actually becoming this like prosperous secular country, because they're going to give you wish-washy bullshit like this. Well, one day I'm hoping it's a better numbers game, and then tomorrow we're going to see if Iran is going to have a better relationship with China. And what does that mean for the United States? That means less oil money. You're saying nothing. It's like a word salad of this bullshit. No, Israel is going to have complete autonomy over the region, and we're cooked. That's it, black and white, bro.
Yeah, this video is nothing burger, bro. This video is a nothing burger, and like the analysis on the Gulf is just so wrong. Like the best thing that the Iranians could have done was shut down the Strait of Hormuz and attack the Gulf states. That's actually why they have so much leverage. You have to create so much pain to America's allies that they tell America you have to stop. Like that's literally.
Maybe he's not privy to the situation. It's either he's not privy to geopolitics, but I think Patrick Bet-David is smarter than that. I think his bias is shielding him from how strategic it was for Iran to hit these Gulf countries. And that's evident because the worst option is also the more likely option, and then his best option on the right side of the board are the least likely. Iran has perfect diplomacy with the world. They start trading. Everybody invests. Okay, so Iran becomes Israel? Like, what are you saying? I think what he's saying towards the middle or towards the left side of these, it turns into Syria or a worse leader takes power. That's most likely. Or even a stalemate with the United States. That's potential. And by the way, by midterms, if Iran can stretch this to November, there is a really good chance this can stalemate. So we'll see how long they can hang on.
They're stretching it. They're taking it to the midterms.
Yeah, that's what the IRGC promised to do.
Yeah, Professor Morendi said he got it on good word that they're going to try to take this out to November, which makes sense. That's the goal. The goal is to shut down the Strait of Hormuz and, death by 1,000 paper cuts and make this economically, painful, because they know that militarily they cannot win. The Iranians cannot win militarily. Let me be clear about this. But they're going to take a military L, but they're going to take a strategic W. That's what it is, man. So here, we'll finish what he's got to say. And then
I'm naturally coming from a place of future looks bright, and I actually...
There you go. He answered our question. He literally confirmed what you said.
Voted for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard to be gone. It was one of the questions that I asked President Trump in the interview when he was here with me, and I said, what plans will you use? He says, I don't know. Everything is different. As a strategist, we're always going to be very fluid. So having said that, two things. If you want the note.
Yeah, once the IRGC gone. Like, guys, I don't want to sound like an asshole or whatever, but American Iranians are like the worst people to talk to on this conflict, bro. I'm sorry. Like, I just got to keep it 1,000 with you. Like, if some nigga lives in LA and, he's an Iranian in LA, or he's a Jewish Iranian, or he's an Iranian and like his family's been here for multiple generations, or he's been here since 1979, like, bro, just take their opinions and just
throw it in the
trash. Throw them in the trash, yo. Like, eat their opinion, bro. I keep it 1,000 with y'all. They're the worst people to talk to, bro. They're the worst people to talk to.
Well, they're so conceited, and they believe all the brainwash and bullshit. And
bro.
They haven't been to their country in years, and they're like a pawn. And I love my Kurds, but what the Kurds are to the United States is what the Iranian secular ones are to Israel. That's what the secular Iranians are to Israel. They just do the bidding. They perpetuate the narrative further. They spread Zionism indirectly. They say that the Jews want the peace in the Middle East, but realistically, they just want power over every single person so they can amass their borders further. And the Iranians are blind to that. They never acknowledge that.
They're the worst.
Not one time in that deep analysis did Patrick Bet-David ever acknowledge the fact that Israel wants complete control to expand their country. But that's something they're never going to acknowledge. And of course, I understand some people may say it's conspiratorial. We can remove that and negate that. I'll still grant you the fact that the United States has a decisive ability to gain their power in the region by talking within these two powers and kind of being decisive authority. So if we lose that, that's also a big hit to our power structure as well.
Bro, like, I'll tell y'all this, like, keep in mind, these people, like these Iranians that are here, they've been here for a long time. They're American citizens. They're totally Westernized. Like, they don't give a fuck about Iran's actual future. What they care about is being able to go there and visit and not get kicked out or hung.
Yeah.
That's what they care about. Like, they want to be able to go back and vacation there, be like, I'm home, and like take some pictures and then leave, nigga. Like that's really what they're like. They don't really care about the country, like, because if they cared about the country, they wouldn't want the Israelis and the Americans to run it. But since they don't give a they're like, we just want to be able to go back and have a democracy, allegedly, or whatever.